Well, welcome back to our next edition of Fantastic Florida with Mike Kerr, as always, proudly broadcasting from Coe, Florida, USA, planet Earth. And my next guest is Mr. Jojo White from Tampa, Florida, who is a great stand-up comedian and also does some sketches on YouTube and Instagram. And want to talk all about that. But first of all, Jojo, where do you think your love and passion for comedy comes from?
I think my love and passion comes from just not being sad. Like, like I got into comedy because I dealt with like depression and stuff. And I realized that like making people laugh like felt good. And I was like, wait a minute, what is this? And can I get this all the time? So that's where stand up and sketch came in, and it just makes me feel good to make other people laugh. So that's where it kind of originated from.
Okay, so I mean, for you, how do you usually describe your comedy? I mean, is it observational? Is it about your adventures and experiences in life, or?
Yeah, I think for the most part, it's like my experiences. Like I see crazy things and I'm like, oh my gosh, I should jot that down because I want to talk about it and like how can I expand on it or make it good or better. That's what I do with my stand-up. And then I also like pull from like my childhood experiences and stuff. Getting into trouble and like I'm sorry about that. As far as my sketch, it's pretty open. Anything could spark just an ideal, and I'll write on it, and then I'll pitch it to friends or people. And if it's funny, then they let me know. If it's not funny, they like, oh, it's not funny, so I rewrite it.
Oh, great. So, I mean, you have those type of friends that will let you know, that will be honest to let you know whether something's funny or not.
Oh yeah. My girlfriend is number one, so she'll let me know right off the bat. And then I have some close friends that I talk with, and then go from there.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that's the key then, as long as you can make people laugh and have a good time then, huh?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. It's all about like making people laugh and having a good time. Like that's what makes me feel good. That's what, yeah, I don't know. That's why I'm in it, because I enjoy it, and it's a challenge for me too. Because it's like, okay, if I get up there and nobody's laughing, thank God no one's like booed me or anything yet. But if nobody's laughing, then it's like it's a challenge. It's like, okay, I'll record my set, and then I'll go home and I'll say, okay, what can I tweak or what can I change? How can I make it relevant, or how can I make it relatable, and how can I get that laugh? And so that's what I do.
Oh, there you go. So now the question is, I mean, do you have different sets or different shows for different audiences, or you pretty much do one show that fits every audience?
I do like whatever I write, I do that because not everybody will like your stuff, but the people that do, those are the people that I want to bring in. I want people to like me for me, because I just try to be genuine on stage. But since this COVID stuff has happened, like since I've been getting out since January of this year, I've been writing about COVID and some situations, and that's to get me back into the rhythm, because I haven't done stand up in like a year. Once COVID hit, everything pretty much shut down, and it was be in the house and figure out something fun to do and all that, or like do stand up in the mirror to yourself. But once it came out, it was like, okay, I started to write on that because that's relatable. Everyone went through something, dealing with COVID. And then but I'm gradually going back to like my stories and things that I want to talk about my life. So yeah.
Oh, oh, okay. Yeah, that's great. So that is a lot of what you do, is, you know, about your life and the stories, you have. But I mean, let's say, for example, somebody cut you off in Publix or coughed on you? I mean, are you the type of person that would write a joke about that?
Yeah, yeah. If it's funny, like I'll definitely write a joke. Like I went to I was in St. Augustine, which is near Jacksonville, and me and my girlfriend, we after a show we went to a Denny's, and first time I ever went to Denny's. I don't know if all Denny's are bad, but it was disgusting. Like it felt like that's where the virus originated from Denny's in Jacksonville. Like it was that bad. And so like I'll put them together. I'm like, okay, can I write and connect them together? And like just experiences, like it was just so gross. I felt like I need to wear like a hazmat suit just walking in there. And so like I'll see things, I'll notice things, and I'll write on that. Or if I just see something funny and I don't know if it'll be something I want to do, I'll tell my girl and just move on. It just depends how I feel really, because I'm just with my stand up right now. Like I want people to just like get to know me on stage, and so I get that connection. So that way, if I do a half hour special next year or when I do, you know, it'll just bring more of an audience and a following, and I want people to know who I am and what I've been through, and just hopefully they'll stay with me through the journey. I feel like I got a good road ahead of me, and yeah, I think I can make a lot of people laugh.
Oh, okay. So I wanted to ask you, Jojo, so this must be a very interesting situation where you go, like you mentioned, at Denny's and everything's terrible. So I mean, when something is very, very bad, or a restaurant sucks or a theater isn't good, I mean, it's funny because then it's like, well, this is going to make a good joke that we could salvage this, that
Exactly. Like I'll see it and I'm like, okay, I'll jot it down in my mind or I'll jot it down on my phone. And then like when I get time at home, I'll write. I'll try to expand on it. Like, what is Denny's like? Or, I'll describe the room to people and how bad it was. And, everyone just like coughing, all the workers without masks, and, you know, basically like if you go into Denny's, like that's the equivalent of being like vaccinated. So if you go in there and come out to COVID, you're fine, you'll be safe. Like just things like that. I'll try to like just think in my head, or go from there. And then the next test is try it on stage. Like I've done jokes on stage where it doesn't come off, and I'll be like, well, that didn't work as good as it sounded in my head, and that may get a laugh. But and then I know to either leave it alone or maybe try to word it differently, or yeah, like it's all about just changing things to the audience, but staying true to yourself at the end of the day.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, for you, Jojo, being there, in Tampa, you have, Busch Gardens and a lot of different attractions. I mean, do you tell jokes? I mean, do you feel any pressure that there's tourists visiting and maybe they want to hear a Busch Gardens joke?
Mm, not really, because I mean, no, not really. I don't feel pressure because I, I feel like they'll like what I have to say. Like you, typically what I'll do is when I do a show, like I did a show in St. Augustine, I did a show in Lake City, and when I open up, I'll look at the room, I'll fill it out, I'll see what the room looks like. When I did a show in St. Augustine, like I'm looking at the room, like, okay, how does this inspire me? And I was like, oh, this room looks like a room off of a Lifetime show where someone's gonna find love tonight. And then I kept talking about the room because it had like lights and it was just like very romantic in the room, and like people thought that was funny. And I would just when I go to a certain place, when I first open up, I typically like to talk about the environment or the city that we're in, or like Jacksonville. When people say Duval, like that just to me that just sounds like murder because there's a high murder rate in Jacksonville. So that's I like to like talk about the area, and sometimes that gets the audience and pulls them in, and like, oh, because they think it's funny because they know about Jacksonville being a bad place and people getting murdered and like being the murder capital of Florida, like I think it was like 2010, and like just stuff like that. I'll try to find out facts about the area. If I were to go to like do a show in Orlando, yeah, like then okay, Disney would be inspire me. I would try to think of maybe a couple Disney jokes, or just the tourist, like how many tourists are in the area and stuff like that. Yeah, that's how I'll write. But if I'm doing like, it depends on the show too. There's levels of shows. If it's just like a lower end show, like a bar or a brewery, uh not that they're nothing, but like if I was to perform in a club, then I'm strictly performing with the set that I've written out. Like I won't talk in the club. I won't do much crowd work. Because right now the level that I'm at a feature level. I open for the opener. And so you only get 15 minutes time. So you got to get everything in 15 minutes. But if I were to when I get to the headline stage, you get 45 minutes to an hour. So you can take your time. You can do a lot of crowd work. You can talk back and forth with some audience members and work that into your set and stuff. So there's many different factors into like, being a stand-up comedian and stuff like that.
Oh, so that's interesting, Jojo, about, becoming a headliner. So you mentioned there that a lot of then what you could do to make up, to that 45 minutes is take your time, do some crowd
Mm-hmm.
work. I mean, is that what you're planning? I mean, you feel that will, take up a little time at the same time, make you more personal then?
I definitely think so. I think there's a connection when you're doing crowd work. You connect with the audience and you bring their focus in a little bit more, because it's like, oh my gosh, is he going to pick me or is he going to talk to me? And like some people don't want it, but then some people do. And the people that don't, sometimes you just pick them and you go with it as best as possible. And I've headlined a couple shows, and that's what I've been able to do. Like, I've been able to like involve more crowd work in the beginning, ask questions like, is there any first time dates out here? And then I'll ask, like, I'll see what it is. How's it going? Is it going bad? I'll probe them, and then I'll try to joke off of what they tell me. And then, a few minutes of that and getting the audience involved, and then I'll go into my set and then go from there. But mostly the work that I do right now is just like feature work for the most part.
Oh, okay. And now, Jojo, I want to talk a little bit about what we like to do on this show. Is about hecklers. You mentioned you don't usually get a lot of boos, but I mean, do you get a lot of hecklers? And is there a certain way that you deal with hecklers?
Me personally, I haven't got a lot of hecklers. I've probably, I've been doing stand up for about a year and 7 months ish. I've probably done mics and shows together. I've probably done, over 80, and probably out of the 80, I've probably had maybe 3 to 5 hecklers. Just and mostly just being overly drunk because they can't handle alcohol. Really wanted to work on my material, and you get 5 minutes
Right,
for the most
right,
part.
right.
And like when a heckler like is trying to like talk to you, it's like they're taking away from you doing your thing. So it threw me off the first few times, but now like when a heckler does or says something, I may pick at them a little bit, or
Right,
try to
right.
say something as punishing as possible in hopes that they would like, oh man, I don't want to say anything else, so I can get back to where I need to be. But I mean, it's fun for the most part. But it's fun to do the crowd work because you get to talk to the people and stuff, and sometimes you'll get some loose cannons and you just move on. But hecklers, not for me personally, it hasn't been that big of an issue. Other people, I know worse stories than what so I've heard of people jumping on stage and like just crazy stuff. So like stand up is like the only kind of like performance art or entertainment that like people feel like they should talk back to the person on stage. You know, you don't see it anywhere else. You just like stand up people in the audience feel like, oh man, I need attention, so I should talk to the guy with the microphone.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay, and now I want to talk, Jojo, a little bit now about how you interact with the audience, and maybe if the audience isn't paying attention or somebody's on their cell phone or something. I mean, do you draw any attention if somebody's not paying attention to you?
Sometimes it depends. Like open mics, not really. Generally you'll have people that will talk and like just have conversations. But mostly if you're you know, if you demand a stage presence, if you like, listen to me, I'm here, like I'm
Right,
going to
right.
tell you something, like you should listen. Most of the times, like people will tune in as long as you're funny. Now, if you're not as funny, then they'll tune in, and then I'll like go off and start like talking or whatever. But if I'm doing good and I'm, you know, in a rhythm and the audience is going, and let's just say there's a couple people off just having their own conversation, I may, depending on the show or what, I may address them and say, "Hey, what are y'all talking about? What's so interesting over here? Like, make me laugh." You know, I may just work it in like that. But typically, like, you know, with my stuff, what I've noticed is like I draw people's attentions, like people listen and stuff and focus. Because I tell stories and like they're intricate and detailed. Like I paint pictures, and so I try to keep the laugh and the rhythm going. And so I haven't had too many issues in that area. I'm not saying I'm the best in the world, but you know, I think I'm pretty interesting on stage.
So Jojo, what is it like? I mean, for you, like at an open mic, I mean, is there like is there a lot of audience, or is it just 30 comics waiting to get on stage? I
Man,
mean, how is open mics?
it's hit or miss. I mean, you may have two people in the audience, and those are the waitresses of the bar or whatever. And you may have 40, 50 comics waiting to get on and do 5 minutes. And it's a long grind. Like it's not easy. Like when you show up and if there's five people in the audience and you're there to do, you travel 30 minutes to do 5 minutes, and you can't really gauge your material off of five people. You know,
Right,
it's so much better
yeah.
when you have a bigger crowd. And then or you're waiting and you're like 15th in line, and it's definitely tough. It's not easy. But then there's some magical nights where everyone's like, let's just go to this one place and watch open mic, unknown people do comedy, and those are fun. Those are fun. You know, there's just an energy in the room where it's like, man, like I want that. Like I want to make people laugh in this room. So yeah, it's good.
So, I mean, for you, Jojo, is there a certain expectation? I mean, at certain places, you know, to use certain language or be more adult. I mean, I don't know how adult your comedy is, but I mean,
Hmm.
is it a situation where you pretty much, whether you're clean, you know, whether you're blue, then these places respect what you want to do then?
Yeah, I mean, I'm clean. All my material's pretty clean from like I don't cuss or anything, or I don't feel the need to do that. But each mic varies. You know, if I'm doing an open mic at a club, then I'll bring my best stuff because I want to do good in hopes that a club booker or owner will see me or hear me or hear the laughs. But if it's like, you know, a cafe, like I'm looser. I'm just like, you know, I'm like having fun. I'm like, okay, you know, I'll pitch a few jokes to see if those land, but I'm not as like honed in as if you know I'm at a place where I know like these jokes will work and I need to hit those jokes and like read the audience. So each open mic varies on like, you know, I how I like the energy that I give, you know, because like when I perform in front of big audience, like they energize me. And then when I give them a laugh, it's like energy flowing back. Like the laughter is, you know, I'm giving them laughter. That's my energy to them. The laughter is coming back to me, charging me up. And I'm like, oh man, here we go. Boom. And I'm giving them, they're feeding me. And like, before you know it, we're in the rhythm and we're working together. But it's like when you have five people, you have a guy 15 feet over there, you have someone behind the bar, you have someone laying down in the corner, like as you have those nights. So yeah.
Right, right. So I mean, for you, Joe, do you do any like world events or get into politics, or is it more about your personal experiences then?
More about my personal experiences. I've done I got a couple jokes that are somewhat political, but they're not really political. That I've only done because once I got out of COVID, I just need I knew I had some things that were funny. And so I use those things to help me get back in a rhythm as quick as possible, like get back into like the stand-up rhythm. And so like I'll tell these jokes, but you know, I told my girl the other day, I was like, I'm getting tired of like the political and the COVID jokes. Like I'm like, okay, like it was good while it lasted. Like I got my laughs and stuff. I'm in a rhythm. I know, you know, how to be on stage. Now I want to get back to like more stories about myself and you know, family and all that.
Oh, so I mean, when you do the jokes about family, I mean, what do they necessarily think about that? Do they enjoy the fun, or they have any issues with you making fun, or just celebrating their what
Yeah.
they.
Well, I think as long as it's not too critical. I mean, look, I joke about everything, so I don't really hold back. You know, I have family that are heavy in drugs or like like certain beatings that I used to get as a kid. Like being like 7 and going ghost hunting with my mom at a Indian burial ground, and like just I have these jokes that like it's my life. It's what I experience in life. Like you can't be mad. And if they get mad, it's like I'm telling jokes. Like there's nothing malice behind it. I'm not trying to like hurt anybody's feelings. It's just like things that I see. I'm gonna talk about it. But as of right now, no one's said any. Like my sister's like, oh, don't say that joke because I don't want mom to hear that one. Yeah, but and depending on what it is, I'll ease back because I'm not trying to get my sister or my mom mad at my sister or anything. But there's a couple jokes that I'm trying to work on that like my mom's never heard me say, so or the stories, and so I'm interested to see if she'll ever say anything to me. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, for you, Jojo, I mean, do you have, a lot of different jokes that, I mean, you premiere out? I mean, is the idea when you get something new to try to do that at an open mic, or, I mean, you don't necessarily will do a totally new bit at, one of your, like comedy clubs or something?
Yeah, like an open mic, I'll do a couple old jokes just because I know they work. I'll do those two to get people's attention and to get that quick laugh. Cause like that's all we want. Like when I first like I'm always like nervous when I go up. It's like I just need to hear that one laugh just to make me feel okay. It's like the anxiety and stuff. But when I hear that laugh, I'm like okay, let's have some fun now. Cause you just want the audience to laugh. So I usually do like two old jokes. Like one of my go-to jokes is like I look like the flea market version of Drake, and usually like people like that or whatever. And so I'll do like a couple jokes about myself, and then I'll do my new stuff. Like I just want people to know, oh, they're like, oh, this guy's funny. Like, he said a couple jokes I like, and then I'll do new stuff, and then I'll hope that that goes well. Just ride the wave.
Oh, so I mean, you also mentioned that you do, videotape or maybe tape them on your phone. And so what
Mm-hmm.
are you necessarily looking for when you watch these? I guess they're like the game tapes, but I mean, is there certain mannerisms or just how the jokes go over because you could hear the audience or?
Yeah, like the first thing I look at is stage presence. Like I feel like I'm pretty good at stage presence, but if I like, any minor details that I can tweak, if I'm putting my hand in my pocket or like, looking down at the ground, like disconnecting from the audience. Like I'm looking for that for the most part, but I'm just listening to my jokes. I'm listening to how it sounds, how it comes out of my mouth. Did I enunciate? Because sometimes I mumble, and I'll just like listen to how the jokes are, and um, and typically before I do the jokes, like I write them out on like docs, and then when I listen to them, I'll mark the parts where I get laughter in red, and so when I'm done listening to everything and marking everything in red, I'm like, okay, what areas are not red on the doc? How can I make those red? How can I make those the funny areas?
Right,
Or if
right.
there's a section where there's no red, I'm like, okay, well, I wasn't funny for like 2 minutes in this area. How can I be funnier? And I'll watch it and go from there.
Hey, now I wanted to talk a little bit. You had mentioned about these, craft breweries that you perform, and we have actually, believe it or not, we have over 30 of them here in Orlando, and about most of them
Yeah.
do comedy. So, I mean, in Tampa, is how many are there, and do a lot of them do live comedy?
Oh, they're popping up just like Orlando. They're popping up like so fast, like out of the blue, and they put them in the craziest places too. Um, but yeah, some of them do comedy, some of them don't, but some of them will host shows. I don't think all of them are on board for comedy yet, but a lot of them, I've been to maybe 6 or 7 different breweries that hosted shows or had open mics there. So they're all different, but yeah, they're popping up. They're everywhere.
Oh, great. So, I mean, is that pretty much, breweries and then open mics? And then, I mean, is there certain comedy clubs that in Tampa that you perform in, or?
Yeah, well, okay. So when COVID came, everything shut down, and before that, I was like, doing performing and doing like little shows there and doing open mic there. And like that's actually like, that's my favorite place to perform, the Improv. It's
Right, right.
big. It's you know um I got to like open up for like Chris Porter, who's been on Comedy Central and stuff. Um, and like that's just fun. Like it's for comedy. Like people are there to laugh, as opposed to like a brewery where like sometimes people are drinking, watching the game, and then someone comes in with the speakers like, all right, we're doing comedy, and then they're like, what? They're confused, or like they're like, oh man, I don't want to listen to comedy. uh but yeah, definitely like the Improv. There are a couple other places, just buildings that have comedy that I like to go to, but the Improv is like my favorite open mic or even show wise. That's what, and they haven't really completely opened up yet. For the main shows, yes, but the open mics, they haven't really opened that back up yet, so I'm waiting for that.
Oh, okay. So before we go, Jojo, I want to talk a little bit about, also your YouTube sketches and Instagram sketches. Mainly what you do is stand up, but you are doing these sketches. Can you tell us about what they're all about?
I mean, they're random. They're just what I feel, what I experience. I, right now I do long form sketch, which is like usually like 2, maybe 3 minutes, and it's really hard because people's attention spans are so short now. They're like, give me
Right,
funny,
right.
and if it's not funny the first second, I don't want it. Like I'm going to swipe and see something else. So which is hard when you do long form, like like SNL style or Dave Chappelle style sketches. It's like those are funny throughout the whole time. It just sometimes they have build-ups and stuff. But yeah, I usually do long form sketches. I'm working on trying to shorten them up, which is a little bit harder, but it's also a good challenge to get your mind going and stuff. Um, but yeah, I just on my page, I do a little bit of everything. Like I'll vlog, I'll do throw my stand up there. I'll do like my sketches. I have long sketches, and I do have I've probably done over 50 sketches.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Yes, Jojo, can you tell us about your, social media, and if you have a website and all the things you're doing with that?
Social media like Instagram, it's Jojo White Comedy. Um, uh, my YouTube is Jojo White. You put Jojo White Comedy and my face will pop up too. Um, I'm not completely professional yet, but I'm working on getting a website up and going, which would be like Jojo White Comedy.
Okay, Jojo, is there any other maybe shows or any other performances you have coming up that you'd like to share here? Yeah.
Usually, for the most part, if people follow me on my Instagram, I constantly post all my shows together and put those up. So if you follow me, that's where you'll see my shows, and yeah, reach out, say hey. If I do good and you watch me, say, hey, you did great. If I did bad, don't say nothing to me at all. Just just keep it going. But yeah, that's mostly where I put my shows. But I know I got a couple next month, and they come out. Sometimes they come out like the day before. Like someone will be like, hey, do you want to do a show tomorrow? I'm like, oh man, okay, sure, yeah, okay, I'll do a show.
Oh, okay, Jojo, we really, appreciate your time. And any final thoughts or anything else you'd like to mention here?
I would just say, man, follow your dreams, guys. But mostly just follow me because I need more followers. And I think it's a fun road that I show in videos and sketches and vlogs and just my life. But follow me, and I see myself going up little by little each year. And I look forward to meeting everybody and following me and stuff. So do that if you want to have a good laugh.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds great. And so basically, they could just, if they want to find you, search Jojo White on social media and all that. Or
Yep, Jojo White comedy. If you put it in Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, my face will pop up. Sometimes I shave so it looks different, but you take a picture of this interview and like just match my face, and you should be able to find me.
Oh, okay. My guest has been Jojo White, and you've been listening to Fantastic Florida with Mike Cara. And please catch us again next time.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me on.